How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to ReWrite, where we had a wonderful date with Lucia. It was very sweet. Everything from like the hand holding, which is such a huge barrier and like impossibility for her before, to this wonderful opportunity to see them being able to date on an even footing, where they were mostly just learning about each other and kind of spending time together. And then culminating even in like a whole like kind of flirty, kind of just goofy, like attempted massage like in the middle of the mall. But like again, that just represents something so powerful for Lucia. Like I get why she went all bubbly and giggly for it. It makes sense. And I think that was like one of the most just unrestrained we've seen Lucia, where she just was doing what she wanted. She was doing something she'd always dreamt of and wasn't even like worried about propriety or whether or not Kotarou would be like feel it was okay or whatnot. It's like she didn't even pause the question. She just was doing it. She was just interacting with him and flirting with him, or whatever you want to call it, because I think it was all of it. I think she was having fun. She was being friendly. I think she was flirting. I don't know if she knows much of a difference between the two at this point. It was very sweet. But now we're kind of reflecting on what it sounds like how she was contemplating about her role with Guardian, the training that she's had, and like how she struggles. We also learned she has another aspect of her power. It's not just the poison that can destroy, like take life, but it's also like micro vibrations that kind of destroy delicate things, even at a distance if she concentrates properly. And so how just she breaks stuff, like when she touches them or interacts with them, she breaks them, and just how sad that is, and you know, like how hard that must be. And now we're getting a bit of a kind of a reflection. I don't know if this is going to be like more about her past yet, or if this is about current events, but it's like while we were on this kind of date, it kind of took this turn where Lucia kind of was reflecting on what Guardian means to her and the very bitter feelings that obviously are entwined with that. So yeah, we're gonna jump right in, just see how this all plays out. But I guess buckle up, let's see how it goes, and then maybe we'll get a fun capstone to this date and see where we go from here. Anyway, let's jump right in. Of course, there are no other channels for the two to negotiate. Oh, I think he's talking about Gaia and Guardian, and the fact that like they've had to fight. And Lucia, I think Lucia even like confessed that she has been involved in engagements with the enemy. However, Guardian is always able to respond and fire back on Gaia whenever they take any actions, as an implicit form of deterrence. For that reason, whenever Gaia makes a move, Guardian attacks important persons from Gaia, sometimes even going as far as assassinating them under the rationale of vengeance. Once in a while, news breaks for certain big names having accidents or just outrightly getting assassinated. Those are just some of the signs of the secret conflict boiling between Guardian and Gaia bubbling to the surface. Of course, Gaia isn't just twiddling their thumbs and watching. Whenever figures from Gaia are assassinated, they immediately retaliate. Oh gosh, it's like it's going down the whole like two cities, or like oh gosh, I can't think about the top of my head. Romeo and Juliet, their family is the I'm not gonna try because I know I'm not remembering them properly, but the idea of like a feud stretching back so far that they don't even remember how it all really started. Probably it doesn't really matter anymore. They just know that the enemy is the enemy and they fight and kill them. This chain of retribution pulls the two organizations deeper and deeper into an unending feud. In America, just the other day, Guardian led the CIA to attack one of Gaia's financial backers. In response, Gaia also fought back with an implicit counterblow. They spread misinformation about the key's appearance all over the world. It looks like the secret conflict between the two forces is spreading and intensifying globally. Right. Becoming a shield or a spear to protect the Earth, huh?
誰かがやらなくてはならない。物心ついた時にはもうその役目は与えられていた。
She says self-aware. Does she mean like old enough to be self-aware, as in like, you know, 6, 7, 8 years old? That's kind of when people really start kind of being a lot more in control of themselves and not just like a little kid. I think technically, like, being in control of yourself starts much earlier than that, but I mean, honestly, do many of us, like, I have memories from when I was like 3 and 4, but they're fragments at best. They're snippets, and honestly, there's a lot of studies that kind of suggest that most memories from that early are most likely reconstructions from bits and pieces that we then infer on like stories we heard. There are some that are going to be legitimate, of course, but just very few. Very, very few. So, like, the earliest, like, time I would call myself true self-aware, where I was, like, actively making memories and remembering them long-term, was probably when I was about 6. So, is she meaning that, or is she talking about self-aware as in, like, aware for powers, aware for role? And, you know, maybe it's both. It could be both entirely. So, it isn't a path that you chose yourself, huh?
生まれる星を選べないように、私たちも運命を選ぶことはできない。
I don't know. I don't know if that's entirely true, but I do think sometimes we are thrust into situations and destinies that we can't choose. We choose how we respond to what we've been given, but you know, we don't get to choose things like where you were born, who your parents are, the choices that other people make, and how those choices influence you, your life. And if that's what you can describe or label as destiny, then she's right. But I also don't think that it means that there's a preconceived path or role that we're just doomed to play, and like that there's no recourse or opportunity. And in fact, I think even when it feels like you're backed into a corner, the best thing you can do is recognize that you do have a choice, but then if you stick with it anyway, that brings you a lot of strength.
自らを呪うことはあっても、使命を呪ったことはない。
Aw, don't say that. For how long has she been part of this organization called Guardian, I wonder? I'm hesitant to ask her since it might directly lead to more painful memories. Lucia, you're really strong.
わからない。これは強さだろうか。命令が下ったなら、私は見ず知らずの相手であっても容赦しない。暗殺が命令であればそれも実行する。時に相手はこのショーケースに並んでいるような銃の実銃で武装していることもあるかもしれない。
Dang.
しかしそれでも私はひるむことを許されない。
I really don't want to get you involved in that sort of danger. But I know it's thanks to you that everyone else's efforts that you're keeping those brutal terrorists at bay and keeping the world safe. I can't ask you to stop, but it's hard for me to cheer you on, too. I have such mixed feelings, painful feelings.
ありがとう。安心しろ。私だって死にたくはない。今は。
From Lucia's point of view.
だから、小太郎には感謝している。お前がいてくれたから、私は生きていたいと、心底から思えるようになった。
Dang. God. She doesn't do anything halfway, and she doesn't do subtle. She just does truth, which is very refreshing. I also like this right here. I don't know if this is the intention, but it feels like this right here is supposed to encapsulate, because we saw things from Kotarou, and you know, they're in the mall, in the store, and he's talking to Lucia, whom he very clearly cares about. But then we go to Lucia's point of view, and for her, the world is white, non-existent, empty void, except for Kotarou. For her, all she's really seeing right now is him. Him and her. And that's kind of cool. Like, I don't know if that visual is meant to communicate that, but that feels like what it's trying to say here. Where Kotarou still feels part of the world. For her, she's let the world and all the worries that come with it fall away. Because for now, her whole world is Kotarou. Whether it's healthy or not, you know, you can debate, but regardless, she hasn't had the opportunity to have anything like this but up till now, and frankly, go for it. Like, embrace it. Lucia.
ありがとう。私に出会ってくれて。
Aww. I was bound to 1,000 years of solitude. No one could approach me thanks to the poison within my body. To me, dying in battle would also mean a peaceful release from this. But now, I found someone I can live alongside me. Someone named Tennouji Kotarou. Now that I'm no longer alone, there's a reason enough for me to continue living. And I mean no hyperbole in that. Indeed, up until today, I never truly lived. And it's thanks to Kotarou that now I can. That's why I will live for Tennouji Kotarou and him alone. Fetch me, man. Like, again, I was gonna say, it's like, I feel sweet and very supportive, but also, like, that can't be healthy. I get it, though. Like, it's not as simple as just like, oh, I was very isolated, socially awkward, felt very lonely, and then I found someone who understands me, and I want to dedicate myself to that person. Like, that could be toxic. And this, honestly, could be toxic, too. Anytime you feel like one person's your entire world and nothing else matters, like, that's a recipe for pain, because if they at all are manipulative, vindictive, or cruel, people can take advantage of that. They can utilize that devotion, and they can weaponize it against you. Self-actualization and being able to have confidence in yourself and a willingness to even cut out something that you find enjoyable or good for a greater good and a greater prosperity, like, it's a really critical part of life. And yet she literally can't be around other people, literally can't embrace other people. So for her, this kind of works. It's just one of those things that I would worry that it would get idealized, platformed, to make it feel like a love of pure devotion to a single person, and that person alone for the rest of eternity. It sounds very romantic, but in practice, it's it has a lot of potential for true damage and pain. Everyone goes through pain in a relationship, but true damage, true life-crushing type of damage in the wrong hands. It's a lot of power to give somebody. Am I perhaps a little too excited? I mean, again, yes, but it's hard to argue it with Lucia. She has a good reason to be. The whole thing feels like such a dream. Time passes us by in a flash. I only notice the passage of time when I realize how hungry I am.
こんな時間まで遊んでしまっていたのか。どうしよう。夕食のことを全く考えていなかった。
There's a restaurant with a viewing deck upstairs. Let's take a look.
展望レストラン？なんだか高そうなイメージが。
The online reviews of the place were pretty good, so we should check it out. Ending a date at a restaurant with a view? Didn't I tell Sizuru the dream of mine in the past, that dream of mine this past New Year's morning? When a wonderful prince appears, I would love him to ask me out on my ideal date. It's almost unbelievable how Kotarou has followed my ideal date to a T. Uh-oh. She's like, wait a minute. It's enough to make me believe that he's my destined one. If this goes just like how I dreamed it, he'll have already made a reservation at the restaurant. Going into a lovely restaurant with a reservation has been another dream of mine. If he'd really made a reservation, then... See, this like it's so cute, but also dangerous.
とても素敵そうなレストランだが、ずいぶん並んでるぞ。
We'll be okay. Excuse me, I have a reservation under Tennouji. Oh, like that's the thing. It's like it really is adorable, and it's like it all comes from Sizuru, like essentially wanting them to be successful. But I almost feel like it's too much. Like they need to have the ups and downs and bumps of dating too. I even was told, like when I was in high school, and again it came up in college, this idea of like you don't want to. It's like some people would say you should essentially do it on purpose, and I don't know if that's really. I think that's a bit much. But the idea was that like when you start dating somebody, you started wondering like, is this like the person? It was said, and I was told like a good idea is to set yourself up for a failure of a date. Not necessarily make it a failure, but set it up in a way and maybe tweak things just enough to make sure it doesn't go quite as planned. Pack something that's like takes time to travel to, is out kind of in the middle of nowhere. Somewhere safe, but somewhere that's just far away from like gas stations or such. Plan it to be maybe a picnic, and maybe don't bring enough food, or like knowingly like stick to it even if the weather's supposed to be sour. You know, it's doing things that make things go south. Again, you shouldn't have to orchestrate something like this. It's going to inevitably happen. Like things just fall apart. And the idea was that those times when a date feels like it's going really far south and going really badly, that's when you watch. That's when you really pay attention to the person, because when things aren't going well, when things are getting tough, when it's challenging and not ideal, or even far cry from ideal to the point where it essentially feels like a disaster, that's when a lot of the real person will come out. You're going to see your date get frustrated. You're going to see them be in pain. You're going to see them being annoyed. And how they express that should be a really important aspect of your relationships. Because life gets hard. You get married, or even if you're not married, but you like start living together, you start sharing finances, you have to split chores, you start having kids. Like, those are challenging, they're messy, they're not perfect, they're far from perfect, and it's gonna push you, and it's gonna push both of you, and you need to know that you can handle those things together. So while this is very cute and ideal, they need to also see how they handle things and work together when they face problems. Granted, it's a game, and we know they're going to face challenges because of the nature of the game and the story, but real life applications for it too.
失礼いたしました。天王寺小太郎様、お二人様ですね。お待ち申し上げておりました。どうぞこちらへ。
It is cute though. See? I figured this happened, so I made sure to book us a table.
小太郎。
Aww. This has made it clear as day. Sizuru must have told Kotarou about my dreams. Yeah, she figured it out. And Kotarou went out of his way to plan a day like this just to make my dreams come true. I had the time of my life today, but in the middle of my excitement, there was something I was afraid of. This, to me, is a date, but for Kotarou, maybe it was nothing more than an outing out of pity for my unfortunate constitution. That's what I'm terrified of. I like how she considers it her unfortunate constitution rather than her like literal superpower of death. Kotarou certainly did invite me on a date, but he also told me that it would be something easygoing, like a stroll. There's a shopping mall he'd never been to, so he asked me to join him on a walk around it. Indeed, that may have just been a simple stroll to Kotarou. But perhaps he might also consider this a date? This is what I'm fearfully hoping for.
こんな素敵なレストランを予約してくれてありがとう。
Go on. Give her words of affirmation. That's what she needs. It'd be such a letdown if we capped this thing off at a ramen joint, right? Besides, this is the first time for both of us. Should be fine for us to splurge a little bit to celebrate, right?
初めてって
Say it. Say it.
何の
She is absolutely a words of affirmation person. Aww. Our first date.
小太郎
Today's date may have been something that Sizuru suggested to him, but Kotarou certainly had no obligation to follow through on it. That's a great way to look at it. What's more, securing a reservation at such an elegant restaurant like this must have been quite a bother. Despite that, he's made all my dreams come true. I would consider whoever makes my dreams come true my knight in shining armor, the person destined for me, and he knows that. I hope that Kotarou is my destined person, and he spent all of today giving me a straightforward response to those hopes of mine. Lucia? As we're walking to our reserved table, I pretend to stumble and cling to his chest. Aww, that's really cute. It's funny. I think I've mentioned this before, but I had a best friend whom I ended up dating eventually. Didn't work out long term, unfortunately, because that would be too storybook and too sweet for a real world. But it was a very fun high school romance type story. But I remember when she told me later that when she first started realizing that after 4 years of friendship, she was starting to catch feelings for me, was when we were hanging out in a classroom during our lunch break, and another girl from her grade, but someone whom I know and like had been friends with for less time, but had been friends with, came in, and I didn't interpret it that way, but she felt like the girl was flirting with me, which turned out to actually also be true because she did later try to make some moves on me like a few months down the road. But regardless of that, my dear friend, we were there spending time. She was sitting on the floor and was like writing in a notebook, and I was kind of standing nearby and just kind of chatting. And then this friend walked in and started apparently flirting with me. I didn't see it that way at all. I was just like, oh, she's just being nice, you know, especially because this girl was really popular. So I was just like, well, of course she's not flirting with me. But then my friend suddenly felt very flustered and very upset. And turned out she said that later that she realized it was jealousy a little bit. But her way of trying to deal with it was actually to pull essentially a Lucia, where it was time for us to get going because she was just like she kind of came up with an excuse for us to leave a little early, to leave to kind of like so we could go do our own thing without this other girl. And I came by and she stuck out her hand for me to help her to her feet, which is something we did. Like I said, we've been friends for years at this point, so fairly normal for us, right? But then I go to pull her up, and as she gets up, she purposely stumbles to do this, to kind of have a sudden closeness, and to kind of, and like I guess like try to kind of give a kind of a look to the other girl. And afterwards, she said that she was actually a little confused herself as why she'd had that rise of feeling and desire to do that, because she normally wasn't a very touchy-feely person. And like I said, that was one of her, like she said, it was one of the first times where she realized maybe there was more to just us being friends. And so it was really funny how similar that is to my actual like dating experience in high school. Aww. If you're having a dizzy spell, you can hold on to me as long as you want. I'm recharging, so I'm not going to say it again, alright? I already told you so many times today.
そうだな。知ってる。天王寺小太郎は生涯私と一緒にいてくれるって。
It's very sweet. It's so fairy tale, but it's very sweet. Yeah, so if you ever don't feel well, just cling on to me anytime you want. I don't have any intention of dismissing or laughing off the vow I made back in the chapel. Absolutely none. Aww, thank you, Kotarou. After that, everything felt like I was walking on a bed of clouds, as if I was in a dream. Our dinner together was wonderful, even though it was only earlier tonight. I could look back on it as if it happened years ago. When he asked me if it was delicious, I replied that it was. But in reality, I couldn't have cared less about how it tasted. Yeah, I've been there. I was simply so happy to overcome with joy. Could have been literal garbage. Oh, that is a good view, though. Right now, I'm simply basking in the afterglow of our dinner, my hand joined with Kotarou's as we gaze upon the night skyline before us. Man, they must have looked so cute, compared to other tables around. It's been like, wow, look at those two. This shopping mall, rather this tower. This tower was built in an excellent spot with a wonderful view. The view of the city at night is so beautiful that I could even forget that it was Kazamatsuri. If someone told me that Kotarou and I had to run away to another country to escape everything, and this scenery is the view of an entirely different city, I might actually believe them. Makes me wonder if she thought of it like that. I wonder if that's in the back of her mind something she actually wishes now. Now that she has Kotarou, she'd be like, can I just leave all this misery and fear behind? Oh, look at that!
緑の美しい街だと思っていたが、夜はまるで星の海だ。
I think it's also cool because, again, like, it's the juxtaposition where Guardian is the bastion of hope in humanity's future, right? That it doesn't need to be redone. And Gaia is about hope in the planet's future, and that with or without humanity, life deserves to have the best chance it can get, even if it means having to redo a lot of what humanity's done. So it's funny to see the symbolism here, where Chihaya, like, a lot of the scenes and special moments involved gardening and being in the park and going up into the mountains, right? Kotarou was the same way, but of course Kotarou's Kotarou. Everything with her was going to be about green and planting. But then to see here on the Guardian side, their special moments are happening at the top of a tower over a sea of stars in the ground, representing the lights and lives of humanity. And the beauty that's there, that humanity brings. Like, the world and the nature, of course, is beautiful and worth protecting, but you can't say that this isn't worth protecting, too. It's really neat that they, like, again, I've got to think it must have been, like a proper decision, whether conscious or unconscious on the writer's part. But I love the symbolism of this, and the juxtaposition between the two. Really feels like we're living a life up here.
Kotarou, 今日一日 ありがとう。
I'm not letting it end just today.
もちろんだとも。でもとにかく今日を感謝したくて。
I know she's being sweet and thankful, but like if I were in his shoes, like having been in his shoes, I'd be like, no, trust me, this was absolutely worth it. Because like right here, right now, I'm on cloud 9. I'm so happy. If only we could have had that limited parfait to finish off the meal, it'd have been perfect. My bad. Figured it'd be fine since we had the table reserved. Sorry I got your hopes up back there. He even knows my fondness for parfaits. It looks like he planned for us to have a limited parfait for dessert. However, because of a mistake with the reservation, we weren't able to have it served. Aw, so yeah, no, he's feeling devastated. He's like, I fumbled at the last second. I'm an idiot. The whole date's ruined. And she's just like, oh, right, that was a thing. I don't think, she's like, I could care less. I was told again and again during our meal about how highly rated the limited parfait here is, and I certainly wasn't let down. But there was nowhere near enough to overcome the dreamlike feeling I had all throughout. Even that in itself simply felt like a bit of side entertainment to go along with my dinner.
次の機会には必ず一緒にパフェを食べよう。
Aww. You want to drop by the Parfait Specialty Cafe at the station?
そうだな。あの最高に美味しかったパフェをぜひ小太郎と一緒に食べたい。
She's just like, whatever, I don't care. I don't think I could.
今度は早食いはなしだ。別の小さいパフェでもいいから。一緒に食べっこがしたい。
She's so blatant, it's amazing. She's so straightforward, and she just doesn't, she's like, the word guile means nothing to this girl. Alright, let's head there on our next date then.
約束。
That was one of my favorite things to get. I would always hope, if a date was going well, casually implying a potential future date and see how they respond to that. Ideally, ending with like something like that, an official like, well, for our next date, we should do that. Because that could be a great way to gauge like whether or not it was good enough for a second one. Today was a real blast.
楽しかった。
We relax and gaze at the nightscape before us, but we should probably head back indoors before we get too chilled. After that, all that remains is for us to go back home. After a whole day of frolicking, we had dinner and gazed out of the city at night. It was a fulfilling date indeed. But in my dreams, there's still one last thing to do. Oh boy. I have to give him a sign, one that he would never notice if he isn't aware of it. However, Kotarou knows all of my dreams, so I'm sure he'll recognize it. Uh-oh. Did Sizuru leave out one detail? Without this sign, today will end without incident. In the very end, I have to give him this sign out of my own volition. Oh. That's very sweet, actually. That might make a better thumbnail right there. God, get yourself a partner that looks at you like Lucia looks at Kotarou. I glance at Kotarou. As I gaze at the night scenery soaking in the lingering feelings from today's event, I smile a little bit. He notices me looking at him, and he smiles back at me. Kotarou took the lead for the entire day. He made all my dreams come true. I ought to grant this last dream of mine through my own effort. Go, you do it, girl, you do it! This sign is quite simple. Not even words are needed.
Kotarou.
Yeah? I can declare with absolute confidence at this very moment I am the happiest girl in the world. That happiness is like the sparkling of a diamond shining before my eyes. The world's happiest girl is reflected in Kotarou's eyes. That girl slowly, gingerly closes her eyes. This is the sign. Oh, Kotarou, come on! Did I dream too big, perhaps? If I want a kiss, then I'll have to tell him directly. Up until now, I've been punching him to hide my embarrassment, but I swore that I would put a stop to that just earlier today. It's time that both he and I became more honest with each other. So I'll ask him. I don't want the happiness filling my heart to escape, so could you use your lips to cover my own? Oh, that's so corny. Oh, it's so cute. Ah! It's not gonna be a thumbnail, but just take it in. Oh, what a stud. He's a good guy. He read the signs just as I opened my eyes. And listen to that music. It's like a synthesizer version. I remember with Chihaya's, it was like a strings based, I think. This one's it's interesting. I like it. Yeah, it's a synthesizer with a, it's not a piano, it's the high-pitched small piano. I can't remember what it's called, though. It's a funny word. I know it as soon as I heard it, but it's been a while since I've thought about it. Just as I opened my eyes, something soft and warm envelops my lips. And then slowly he wraps his arm around me. This isn't an embrace to keep me from running away. So that I will never again mistakenly think that I am alone, he tightens his hug. Yeah. Without thinking, I suck out his lower lip, begging for more. Oh my goodness, Lucia. I mean, she's never had it even a close approximation of something like this. So I don't blame her. It's always the quiet ones and the proper ones you gotta watch out for. That isn't something I should do for my first kiss. But I did it anyway. This doesn't even feel like I'm walking on a bed of clouds anymore. It's because my mind itself has already turned into a fluffy bed of clouds. I can't even think. Finally, my lips find release. Finally? Did it truly feel like an eternity? It must have been a short, fleeting moment fitting for a first kiss. But that fleeting moment felt like an eternity. Yeah, it does. Looking at Kotarou, I can see his face is flushed red. He forcefully averts his gaze in the hopes that I don't notice. Whenever someone gets embarrassed, Kotarou has a tendency to play it off as a joke. But he knows that if he does that, he'd be ruining the moment of my first kiss. Kotarou is fighting against his own embarrassment for my sake. That's why I decided to grant him release myself.
Kotarou, 顔が真っ赤だ。
Oh, shut up! I felt kind of hot. It's just a little red. And here I was trying so hard to keep myself from cracking a joke after feeling all embarrassed.
知ってた。ありがとう。
This time, I don't feign a stumble. I embrace him tightly, burying my face into his chest. Just as tightly as he embraced my back earlier. This isn't going to recharge or anything, so I'm only going to say this once. At the start, I really was just teasing the straight-laced class representative that I somehow kept running into.
そうだな。
With the whole Asahi Haruka affair, I grew more connected to you, and eventually, I couldn't just let you go.
そうだな。
That's why, back in the church, when I hugged you, what I felt at that time was sympathy, I'll be perfectly honest.
だろうな。
But after our date today, all those feelings have gone right out the window.
もう同情はなしなのか？
Nope, not a bit. I like how he's being so honest here. That's great. That's really good. The reason why I, Tennouji Kotarou, am embracing Konohana Lucia right now is absolutely not out of pity or sympathy. I'm not saying this again, so listen up. I, Tennouji Kotarou, love you, Konohana Lucia. Fetch me! Just dropping the L-bomb on the first date, first kiss. Holy crap. Whew. I think I've shared that story before too. Yeah, I kind of did something similar, but it was a heat of the moment type of thing, not a conscious decision. So I was very embarrassed and sure I'd shot myself in the foot. It worked out. That's it. Not saying it again. Kotaru's face glows even redder as he quickly looks away. However, he isn't letting me go.
その言葉を私はいつまでも忘れない。
Aw, but you better be able to say that later.
二度と聞かない。
Yeah, don't ask me to say him again. And don't forget him either.
二度は聞かないけど、キスは二度したい。
My kisses also need to be recharged.
小太郎はいろいろと電池切れが多い。
Come on, man!
じゃあ、私が充電してあげるから。
Okay, Lucy, this is starting to get a little lewd. She just goes for it, huh? This time, I press my lips against his. My confession should be answered accordingly. I kiss him once more and again until I have no more regrets left for tonight. He sighs, almost panting. After playfully biting on his lower lip, I pull away. Whew! Oh my gosh! I'm getting a lot of color. Dang. That the juxtaposition of like the always prim and proper Lucia to then have her be so like forward and like almost aggressively affectionate would be such an interesting spin around, and it's very, very like I don't think it's not like a necessarily like, oh, I'm super into that type of thing, but at the same time, like, especially with the juxtaposition, that is very like heart racing stuff right there. Plus, I have to admit, I'm always a sucker for like real life and characters, like romantically, who are the go-getters, the people who, you know, do what they want because they want to, and don't feel like they have to hold themselves back. Maybe we all have to do a little bit, but like when it comes to these types of batters, like I've always liked the forward approach. I've always felt that very attractive.
この花ルチアも天王寺小太郎のこと。
God, it's like any other situation. I'd be like, warning, warning, red sign, really fast, slow down. You've only had one date, but like, it's hard to be against it because it feels so sweet. Yeah.
今夜もらった幸せで私は1000年生きていける。でも幸せが私の肺から溢れ出して逃げていくかもしれない。
Well, then we'd better cover it up, huh? Oh, he's going for it.
たまにおねだりしてもいい？
Yeah? Anytime you think the happiness is about to come out, just let me know.
いつでもどこでも
Lucia, ooh. I'll try.
学校でも
Not in the classroom.
空き教室に呼ぶから
That's fine then.
休み時間でも
Yeah, sure.
昼休み中でも
Oh my gosh, he's never gonna be able to sleep again after I've had lunch.
放課後でも
Uh-huh.
暗くなるまででも
Of course.
暗くなってからもずっと
Holy crap, calm down! We can't let we can't let all that happiness we put inside you tonight escape, can we? We'll have to plug up those naughty lips of yours for letting the happiness out, even if it takes all of our breaks and all our lunch. Guess we'll have to cover them even after school. Sheesh.
私の唇悪い唇
Alright.
ずっと
Alright.
塞いでって
Oh my gosh. I can say, okay. Gotta say, it's not bad. It's amusing and it's overwhelming. I can definitely see why a lot of you people like her a lot. Holy crap. Whew. Again, it's a juxtaposition. Wow.
休み時間にも昼休みにも放課後にも空き教室で待ってるから
I can't wait for them to be having one of their having their max sessions and someone sees them or interrupts them. Oh, it's gonna be great. Dang, you're really asking for it.
悪ふざけしてたら止まらなくなっちゃった
Oh yeah, Kotarou is so guilty of that. I think he's not gonna be able to dispute it.
ごめん
Thank goodness Kotarou stopped me. I don't think I could have stopped myself. But every single thing I told him was the truth, what I honestly feel. Inviting him to an empty classroom during all our breaks at school to ask for kisses, I might be a failure of a class representative. Yeah, okay, maybe, in Japan especially, but you're a fantastic person. Because for some of us, that's just what we want. Not all of us, but some of us. Why are you getting all worked up? Didn't I already promise? I'm not gonna run away, and I'm not gonna leave you. If you ask for it, I'd be more than happy to do it any time, as much as you want. There's no need to get all thirsty. I'm glad we split this into 2 episodes. I really felt like I would have felt like I was rushing it if I kept going for the last week. I was worried when I started this. I was like, oh, I probably should have just kept going last time. No, I'm glad we're here. Finally, I found a release from this immature desire to monopolize, this urge to have it all for myself. It's only now I realize that I've let burst forth a veritable dam of the most embarrassing words. Yeah, it's okay though, but yeah. I feel so incredibly flushed. I'm practically boiling hot. The cool breeze from the night view feels refreshing. Riding in the cramped late bus of the night, the two of us return home. Kotarou accompanied me the entire way. Up until the very last moment when the clock passed midnight, Kotarou's been with me all of today. Fetch me. Alright, see ya. Today was great. I'm sure you're feeling tired after all the walking we did.
いや、全然疲れてなんかいない。
You're still feeling that excitement? Once you soak in the bath, it'll hit you all at once.
そうかもしれない。
Oh, Lucia, please calm down. It's been one date.
お風呂で余韻を噛み締めることにする。
Lucia, do you realize what you're saying? Or are you just rolling with it now? Don't be using your homemade bath bombs for today, alright?
失敗したのはしずるの時だけだ。本当に疲れが取れるんだぞ。今度プレゼントするからぜひ試してくれ。
Kotarou tells me he's looking forward to it, then leaves for home. Just as he disappears from sight, a sense of fatigue and comfort immediately overwhelmed me. I bet. I went to remove my makeup and change into more relaxing clothes as soon as I can. I take a long, slow soak in the bath and savor everything that happened today while in bed. I take my shoes off, put my handbag away, and change my phone. Wait, in that order? Wouldn't you have taken your shoes off when you soaked in the bath? Guessing that's just a translation error or something, because that doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's right, I turned my phone off. Normally, I always leave my phone on. But just for today, I wanted to be with Kotarou with our little world and cut myself off from everything. Oh, of course, and this is that, remember we saw that glimpse into the Guardian base with the whole shutdowns and everything. So now our phone's gonna be blowing up and they're gonna be like, where were you? Right as I turn my phone on, I immediately get text notifications. They must be from Sizuru. I can imagine her asking with a smile if I was able to have my ideal date. Ugh, a bit late, but it finally hits me how embarrassing everything was. But well, whatever. I betray her anyway. I should confess that to her as well. Thank you, Sizuru. I know the notifications appear on screen. There are 3 messages and 12 missed calls. Sizuru, this is way too much. I can imagine her wanting to meddle with us, trying to call at just the right time to ruin the moment. I can't have her thinking that either of us is staying the night. I should at least call her.
あれ？西九条。
All 12 missed calls are from Miss Nishikyojo. Looking at the call history, it seems like she tried to reach me 5 times in a row around early evening, and after that she's tried to call at least once an hour. What about the messages? There are 3 messages, one from Sizuru just after lunch, subject reads, "You traitor." The words of encouragement and telling me that I shouldn't hide behind a facade to be more honest and enjoy myself for the day. Thank you, Sizuru. Thanks to you that our date today was ever so wonderful. The next one is from Miss Nishikujo, urgent. All the messages say that I have to call her as soon as possible. The message came around early evening. The last one is also from Miss Nishikujo, and it was sent just moments ago. The subject reads, Sizuru collapsed. Oh, fetch! Just as my vision goes white, the screen blinks, playing a certain ringtone. It's the ringtone I set for Miss Nishikujo. Well, that took a turn. Oh no. Lucia tells me that Sizuru collapsed and was taken to the hospital. That's what I understood from her phone call, at least, which is just moments after I got out of the bath. Lucia's probably blaming herself right now. The two are close enough to confide in each other about love. But I bet Lucia considers herself responsible, thinking that because she found happiness, Sizuru received the opposite in exchange, having bad luck fall upon her instead. As worried as I am for Sizuru, I'm just as worried for Lucia. As she brought into the Guardian hospital I was in before. It looks like a typical municipal hospital. You wouldn't even imagine it was actually backed by a worldwide secret organization. This is also the same place that I've had to visit countless times for checkups after the incident in Santa Borgia.
Tennouji-kun, こっちよ。
Miss Nishikyojo, how's Sizuru?
安心して。とても幸運だったわ。彼女じゃなかったら死んでいた。
Good grief, why? What happened? Like, she says he collapsed, but I'm guessing it's like it was Gaia. Beyond the glass window, Sizuru is lying in a hospital bed surrounded by an assortment of medical instruments. A deep red tube is inserted inside her, connected to an ominous-looking machine. No matter how you spin it, her condition doesn't look optimistic. Just what happened to her?
急に真っ青になって意識を失ったの。
What the fetch?
私の前で倒れてくれてよかったわ。もし誰もいない場所でだったら、
She just collapsed. That's not right. Sizuru seems like she's been doing fine, though. No sign of any sickness or anything.
さあ、天王寺くん、君にも大至急検査を受けてもらうわ。今夜は帰れないかもしれないから、そのつもりで。
Is it like, are they worried it's a Lucia thing? Huh? Why me too? Still completely in the dark about what's going on, I'm brought into a different room. Urged by doctors, I undergo a blood test and urinalysis. It's around then that my imagination takes a turn into a darker direction. Miss Nishikyujo? Where's Lucia?
無事よ。別の施設で検査を受けてるわ。
When Lucia called, it sounded like we'd be meeting in the hospital. However, it looks like she isn't here anymore. I checked my phone, finding a message from Lucia. Apparently, she'll be having a checkup at a different hospital. She did say in the message not to worry, though. Just what happened here? Lucia's poison, I thought? That was already fixed.
そういうことになってたんだけどね。
Then what? Sizuru was affected by Lucia's poison?
ルチアちゃんが特別な体であるように、しずるちゃんも特別な体なの。
Sizuru did tell me something along those lines, that she's okay with Lucia's poison because she has a special body. That's why she was qualified to be Lucia's one and only friend. Can't even imagine just how greatly that's helped Lucia. No one understands Lucia as well as Sizuru does. She's always been there by her side as a truly irreplaceable confidant. I never gave it any deeper thought, though. I can withstand with Lucia's poison because I use my body's accelerator to remodel myself in order to be able to accept Lucia's poison. But just how is Sizuru able to withstand it?
しずるちゃんの体はね、歩く製薬工場って呼ばれてる。
Medicine factory?
彼女の体は特別なの。必要な薬物を体内で自己生成し、自己投与できる。
Interesting. Oh, but wait. So if something suppressed that, she might just instantly start collapsing from poison. Like, she, would be, in contact with Lucia's, whatever her ability is. So if her ability just switched off for some reason, she would just immediately succumb.
そして、有害物質に接した場合にも、自己分析して、それを相殺する薬物を自己生成、自己投与できるの。
That's pretty amazing, actually. That's cool.
つまり、どんな悪事記をしても、絶対に食中毒にならない能力ということかしら。しずるちゃんにぴったりよね。
I think it does, but it also, it might be, cause and effect might be reversed in this case, where maybe she eats really random things because she's never been able to get food poisoning and thus has never had eaten anything that just makes her feel funky inside. So she can go for a pure taste without worrying about concoction or compilation or conjunction. She just goes for whatever she thinks is an interesting flavor, even if for most of us would just be absolutely horrifically sick from it. She has that power, then why would she collapse?
二つの不幸が重なったわ。一つは、そのしずるちゃんの能力がむしろ、裏目に出てしまったこと。
What?
もう一つは、ルチアちゃんが投与を受けている毒の抑制剤が完璧ではなかったこと。
Her medicine, what's wrong with it?
ルチアちゃんもまた、しずるちゃんと同じで、歩く製薬工場なの。悪い言い方を承知で言うと、歩く公害工場ね。猛毒の梅塩を常に排出する。
But that was in the past.
抑制剤を欠かさず飲んでいるから抑えられているだけ。彼女の体内工場は今も昔も変わらず猛毒の梅塩の排出を続けている。
Weird. That's so strange. And I really want to know more about how that happened. So, because their abilities are are so similar, but like reflections of each other in a way, did Sizuru get it through the similar process? Because Lucia seemed to get it from the projection of the future state, her body adapted to what was expected in the future, and she then reflected what the future world was going to be like. So, how would Sizuru from the similar system gain her abilities to do the medicine? Or did they learn from the Lucia project and apply it in different ways to other people? I don't know. I want to know.
それを抑制剤を使って体内で分解しているだけ。
I just presumed that Lucia wasn't giving off toxins anymore thanks to the suppressants. Looks like this isn't quite the case, though. Lucia's body still produces poison, but she takes medicine to make sure it isn't released from her body.
第一の不幸は、どうも抑制剤が完全にそれを抑えきれていなかったらしいこと。
That is, no, okay, if that's the case, then that would make sense why they took her to a different hospital. Because right now, she might be a humongous liability if, like, maybe her body's adapted to the suppressant. Kind of like how we take antibiotics, but eventually, like, the bacteria and the viruses adapt to surviving them, and thus we make them stronger and make the antibiotic essentially useless. So maybe her own toxins and her body's creation of the toxins are adapting to whatever the suppressive medicine she's been taking is, so they might need to do a new formulation.
私たちの推測では、極めて微弱ではあっても、常時彼女から毒の排出は行われていたらしいの。
If that's the case, then her wearing gloves might actually have been saving people's lives without her realizing it. Lucia was afraid of that, which is why she shunned contact with others and acted like a clean freak.
そうね。だから私たちは、ルチアちゃんに感謝しないといけない。
Well, at least she's got Kotarou now, because otherwise this would be horrifically devastating for her.
もしも彼女がそういう慎重な生活を送ってくれなかったら、被害はもっと致命的な形で拡大していた可能性が高いわ。
I hope that today, when she's goofing around with us, that she wasn't leaving contact poison on everything. That could have been bad. Ugh.
しずるちゃんも、もっと早い段階で倒れていたかもしれない。
But Sizuru was perfectly fine until now. Why'd this happen so suddenly?
それが第二の不幸。しずるちゃんが非凡な抵抗能力を持っていたせいで、発見が遅れたの。
Oh. But Sizuru's a medicine factory, right? Didn't you tell me that her body automatically makes a drug to counteract Lucia's toxin and all that stuff?
私たちも、しずるちゃんはルチアちゃんの毒を中和できていると信じていたわ。しかし、今回分かったの。しずるちゃんの体内工場が生成していたのは、抵抗物質であって、中和物質ではなかった。
Oh, and I wonder if Lucia, if she hears that, is she gonna start worrying that Kotarou might be the same thing, where like he seems to resist it, but like maybe not permanently? What's the difference?
しずるちゃんは、ルチアちゃんの無二の親友として、短くない期間を密接に過ごしたわ。その期間の間に、しずるちゃんの体内に、少しずつ毒が堆積していったの。
Crap! Yeah, this is exactly what Lucia's gonna start thinking. She's gonna start thinking that, like, if she spends time with Kotarou, she'll slowly poison him to death.
しずるちゃんの体内は、その毒に対する抵抗物質を生成して相殺したわ。でも、抵抗していただけ。堆積していく毒を消し去っているわけではなかったの。
You mean to say, even without any symptoms, Lucia's poison was just building up inside her?
悪い例え方をすると、堆積していく悪臭のゴミ山みたいなものね。しずるちゃんの体内工場はそのゴミに対し、消臭剤をかけることで悪臭を相殺してた。でも、ゴミそのものを除去するには至ってなかったわけ。
Good grief, this poison's like... I compared it to, like, radiation before, but this stuff might be more tenacious than radiation, because, like, radiation just kind of exists, right? And so maybe it kind of is, because... But usually radiation kind of burns itself out. Maybe her poison is like radiation in that response then, because, like, maybe it does, but if you absorb more than you're putting out, then it's essentially just stockpiling. Even though the poison within her continued to build up, her body created medicine to resist it, so it seemed as if she was in perfect health. It's like a scale where more and more weight's added to both ends to keep the sides balance.
その状態を動的平衡状態っていうの。表向きは健康に見えるけど、体内では熾烈な戦闘が行われていて、ギリギリ均衡が保たれている状態。
Is that something she wouldn't even notice?
ええ。そのせいで、これほど重篤になるまで発覚が遅れたの。これが第二の不幸ってわけ。私たちも衝撃を受けているわ。しずるちゃんの力をもってしても解毒できないなんてね。
Even Sizuru's body has limits. Her ability has a limit on how much of the resistant drug she can synthesize as well. While Lucia's poison continued to accumulate in her without end, Suzuru's body could only resist so much. And one day, that delicate balance finally crumbled.
つまり、ルチアちゃんの毒の慢性中毒というわけ。今、しずるちゃんが受けているのは、それを除去する血液透析よ。
Hemodialysis, that's the purification of blood. That's where the machine essentially is acting as an artificial kidney, but I'm guessing a super scrubbing one that somehow can extract their poison. Will she get better? I really hope Shizuru gets well. Seeing Shizuru in this condition is only going to hurt Lucia deeply.
もちろん、時間をかけてゆっくり治療すれば、必ず元気になるわ。それは約束できる。
Thank goodness. Have you told Lucia that too?
もちろん。
I'm a little relieved. Lucia still probably blames herself for what happened, but that wound will heal over time. I'll be there to support her along the way. I'm sure Shizuru will too. It'll be fine. We aren't going to let Lucia be alone. The room's extension phone rings and Miss Nishikyojo answers. The call is over in a flash. She glances at me a few times during the call, so it's probably the result of my blood test. Oh no! Because of how short the call is, I infer the results look positive even before she tells me anything.
天王寺くんの検査結果が出たわ。本当に君はすごいわね。
Oh, thank goodness. I was really nervous there. Lucia's poison's got nothing on me.
君は何者なの？
Tennouji Kotarou. I'm Tennouji Kotarou. Just an ordinary guy who pledged that he would never let Konohana Lucia be alone for the rest of her life.
それは誇張でもなんでもないわね。研究室は1000年に1人どころか、有史以来に1人の奇跡の体質と評価を改めたわ。
Note the language there. The constitution from someone who appears once in 1,000 years to once in all of mankind's history. That's very similar language to what they were looking for with the project, right? I think he might have just been officially, without whether or not he consents, inducted into the Guardian Project. Oh no.
君はルチアちゃんの毒に対して抵抗どころか、ことも投げに受け入れ、当たり前のように素通ししている。
Oh, dude, that's actually really cool. So it's treating her toxin like it treats any other toxin, like alcohol. It's a good example. Your body takes it in, processes it, and lets it pass through. Granted, we get drunk through that process, but that's the thing. That's our body processing the alcohol. So his body essentially is just doing that. It's going in, his liver is taking it, scrubbing the poison, probably breaking it down into something more manageable, and then just letting it go. If that's true, then unless something really crazy happens to his body, he's fine.
にもかかわらず、彼女と違い、
Yeah. So
毒を体外に排出しない。
just like alcohol, what's likely happening is that his body is breaking down the poison into manageable pieces that can then be passed as just normal expulsions. I floored the accelerator in search for a body that can accept her poison. That's why Lucia's poison means absolutely nothing to me. If only Sizuru's body could be that way too.
君という奇跡の存在が発見されていたなら、次世代人類プロジェクトに100億ドルもの無駄な予算を投じる必要はなかったかもしれない。
So she doesn't like that whole project.
それだけの莫大な予算を投じて、1000年の後に人類を受け継ごうとして生み出したのは、一人の不幸な少女だけだった。
Like I said, I think the manipulation is starting. I think she's genuine here about her feelings, but I think that she's essentially trying to get him on board with being a part of the project. What exactly is the Next Generation Humanity Project?
ルチアちゃんから聞かされてない。
Only the gist of it. It's about how in 1,000 years the Earth will turn into a harsh place that people won't be able to live in, and that they were doing research on how humans could withstand it.
正気をなくした連中が始めた実験よ。どんな過酷な環境にも耐えられる改造人間を作って、それを冷凍睡眠で未来に送り込もうとしてた。
Okay, so the way she's talking about this here sounds like the project might have been scrubbed. It definitely killed a lot of people, so I'm guessing they might have just shelved it. But I assumed it was still a project ongoing. They were just looking for candidate B, the guy. The Adam to the Eve they were looking for.
そのために世界中の孤児を集めて、ひどい実験の被験者にしたの。
That is pretty crappy. And Lucia was one of them.
ええ、彼女は孤児よ。ガーディアンジャパンの施設に 生まれてすぐ引き取られたわ。
That sucks.
そしてそのプロジェクトの被験者に選ばれて連中の施設に引き取られた。それが彼女の最大の不幸。そして生きてプロジェクトを出られたのが最大の幸運だった。
And the project was at the chapel and orphanage in the hill in the mountains of Kazamatsuri. Ever since that day, I always felt that something was missing from the equation. That maybe Lucia's poisonous body had something to do with her involvement with the project. Just what is Lucia exactly? What is that poison of hers?
1000年後、地球という人類が知り得る最大の生物が死ぬと考えられてるわ。
Okay. So that's what they think. They think that Earth literally dies, and like the poison is the festering rot from the shell that is the human corpse, the Earth corpse. You know, like how we rot, the Earth is rotting, and that's a poison.
知ってる？地球は生き物で、人類はその恩恵で生きているって話。
I think I saw something like that on TV.
地球という生き物は体内に生命の力を蓄えてる。それを時々パワースポットと呼ばれる穴から放出し、地表を潤していると考えられているの。
Proverbial Gardens of Eden.
地球生命の誕生は地球という巨大生命の存在なくしてありえないという仮説よ。
I mean, you could argue that, like in this situation especially, it would accelerate evolution, allowing it to even occur in the first place. Once the Earth itself dies, all the beings that live on it would eventually wither and die.
それはつまり地球上の全生物が死滅する。我々人類など地球という巨大生物を宿主とした細菌に過ぎない。
I mean, fair. We can even be burned away by a high enough fever if you think about it. Global warming, that's the fear, is that things get so hot, the entire ecosystem's thrown out of whack, and it won't be something that we can easily survive as a species. The Earth will be fine, we won't.
宿主が死ねば人類も当然道連れになるわ。
So what does that all have to do with Lucia's poison?
次世代人類プロジェクトの連中が100億ドルを費やした研究によると、1000年後に地球は滅ぶ。
She really didn't like that project.
すると地球体内の生命エネルギーは腐って瘴気となり、それが地表に吹き出して猛毒の瘴気となって全生物を滅ぼすと推測されたの。
Okay. Yeah. So in this case, it'd be like the magic of the power spots would be corrupt and just come out and just kill everything. Toxic miasma.
生命の力と真逆の力。命を奪うだけの何よりも純粋な有害物質よ。
So how can Lucia be alive and yet emit this toxin? Like, how did that happen?
地球上には現在でも膨大な種類の毒物が存在するわ。しかし、それらは何らかの作用によって結果的に人体に害となるだけ。
I getcha.
それらも上手に扱えば何かの特効薬になったりという話は聞いたことがあるでしょ。
Oh yeah, no, that's a very real thing. Heck, that's even like how vaccinations work. Is you take parts of a virus that are too broken up or incomplete to be able to actually do anything in your body, but it trains your body not only how to recognize an invasion force of that type of virus, but also what kills it. That's essentially what a vaccine does. It just inoculates you by giving you poison. Your body learns how the poison works, learns how to break it down, and then can use it as a defense when it tries to actually invade. Meanwhile, that miasma is different. Its sole purpose is to take away life. It's a poison of death that any living being should steer clear of. 1,000 years from now, everything will be engulfed by this poison, and there's nothing we can do to escape it. In short, to be able to live in a world of 1,000 years in the future, you'd have to be able to accept that poison.
シェルターやスーツで防ぐとか、薬物で中和するとか、その結果、毒に抵抗するのではなく、毒を当たり前なものとして受け入れる体を作るべきではないかという、とんでもない話に行き着くの。
Yeah, but then the problem is they seem to have succeeded, like with Lucia, although she generates it too, and now Kotarou. And that's Lucia.
だいぶはしょるとそういうことよ。ルチアちゃんは体を1000年後の死の世界が基本になるように作り変えられたわ。
Reconstructed. Okay, so it was an artificial thing. It wasn't just her mind adapting. It was literal, like, rebuilding.
つまり、 ルチアちゃんにとっては死の世界こそが当たり前で、逆に私たちのこの世界が毒となるようになってしまった。
Wait, does that mean we poison her? This world is poisonous for Lucia?
ええ。だからルチアちゃんは体内で常に死の世界の毒を自己生産して、自己投与をしているのよ。
She's like become anti-life, like an antimatter. Like matter and antimatter, they collide, they annihilate each other. She's like an anti-life being. She's alive, but not actually alive in the sense that we would understand it. Like, she's like a reversal of that. And that's really an interesting concept. So then our body cannot, like, her body's generating a miasma to keep herself alive. Our body processes and breaks down the miasma and nullifies it. Oh, but remember, we have a piece of Gaia inside of us, like part of our flesh. So that makes sense because that miasma is just, it's like the difference between blood and pus for a person, right? Like, yeah, like one's like a necessity for us to function, and one is a response to an immune like response to like an assault or to try and heal you. But they're both parts of our body, and they're there that help. They're part of the function of a body, both in health and sickness. Like, it's not like pus is a bad sign. We associate it with illness and pain, but it's actually our body functioning properly to keep us alive. So you can almost think of it that like, if life runs off of and is the blood of the earth, then this miasma is like the immune response of the earth, or like the remains of an immune response. Lucia is just an exemplar of that. Interesting. And then when the poison that her body creates leaks out of her.
恐ろしいことになるわ。天王寺君はもうサンタブロシアで何があったか知っているはずよ。当時製薬会社の過失で抑制剤にミスがあったの。
Oh, so she already had the ability before.
長期間にわたり不適切な抑制剤が与えられ、彼女の毒が滲み出し始めていた。その兆候は大いにあったでしょうね。植物が枯れたり、病人が出たりという兆候は、事故の数ヶ月前からあったと想像できるわ。
You mean the curse of Asahi Haruka?
あれは事故よ。彼女に責任はない。
Whatever she touched, plants withered, people died, with the mark of her hand still left on them. After she saw that happen before her very eyes, how could she not think it was her fault? Just how much do you think she suffered from that?
ええ、私も何度もそれを彼女に諭したわ。あなたに責任はない。あなたに過酷を強いた運命のせいであると。
Maybe I talked about before how like it's not fair, or not like I don't think it's very good to like assume destiny rules your life, but maybe believing in destiny is what saves her sanity, because it clings to her defense that helps her believe that it wasn't her fault. No, you can't know who's at fault here. Those guys, those idiots who screwed her body up and turned her into what she is today. Isn't that obvious? Can't you turn her back to normal, change her body to a regular human again?
不可逆的な手術だった。彼女はその体を受け入れるほかなかった。
And did Lucia really undergo that surgery willingly? Can't imagine she would.
彼女は自ら望んで受けたわ。承諾書に母印もある。
Well, she was probably, what, 4?
ただし、物心もつかない子供の頃にだけれどね。
No, so no duh, of course you got her to sign that. How dare you put her innocent kids through crap like that?
ええ。これは許されざる非人道的行為だわ。総本部の耳に入ってすぐに、このプロジェクトは強制的に解散させられた。
A lot of good it did.
関係者はことごとく処分され、事実はすべて闇に葬られた。でも、それまでの十数年もの間、この悪魔のプロジェクトは、大勢の孤児たちに犠牲を強いたわ。
Okay.
恐ろしいことよ。
So it was a splinter, kind of culty group, it sounds like. Still isn't over. Even though the project's already dead, Lucia is still suffering here, and she'll keep on suffering for 1,000 years, just like you all wanted. But after all that, Lucia's still working with you guys. She says that she'll be on the Earth's shield and spear. How? How doesn't she bear a grudge, even though Guardian's what screwed her body up?
生後すぐにプロジェクトの施設に引き取られた彼女は、そこで奴らの終末思想に染め上げられたわ。
That's true. Like I said, it was like a cult. And Those things, they get the grip on your psyche, and that's not something you just shake off.
千年の後、人類は滅亡する。その未来に文明を伝える崇高な使命を、神はあなたに与え賜れたってね。
That's just brainwashing, isn't it? All they did was brainwash her, turn her into a victim of the sick experiment.
研究所から救出された後、もともと日本人であったルチアちゃんは、ガーディアンジャパンが引き取ったわ。経緯を知る私たちは、彼女の心のケアを第一に考え、専門家チームに面接とケアを行わせた。
Right.
彼らの見解は、彼女に対し、次世代人類プロジェクトを否定しない方がいいというものだったの。
At least not at first. Lucia was indoctrinated with their apocalyptic rhetoric ever since she was born. She believes that God really gave her a noble mission of carrying on human civilization into the future after the Earth falls to ruin. That's how she was able to bear the terrible surgery, the training, all the fears and sacrifices. Lucia herself knows her body's been modified only to live in the world of death in the future. She knows the procedure of modifying her is irreversible and that she exists on this earth. Her existence on this earth will only serve to harm others. Despite that, she's also convinced herself that someone must take on the duty of living on 1,000 years into the future. That's why she was able to bear the cruel fate thrust upon her. Even though she's become someone whose very existence threatens people's lives, she was able to find a reason to live.
プロジェクトの否定と非難は、ルチアちゃんに自分の存在意義を失わせる。
Frankly, she kind of already had lost it. She explained that in her own thoughts earlier.
専門家チームは、彼女のデブリーフィングは慎重であるべきであり、安易な同情はむしろ危険であると診断したわ。
Lucia took on a dangerous yet noble duty for the sake of our future 1,000 years from now. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like she was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, the same sacrifice we respect and like, you know, see through like armed servicemen and like people who like go into war zones to bring like humanitarian aid and people who sacrifice their lives to serve in orphanages and like to do all these wonderful things where like they literally give up essentially their life to support and you know give what they can for the sake of others. That's what she did, and that's how she sees it. It's like the way that she holds on to it. She's a hero. She's one of the biggest heroes because despite like realizing later on that she probably recognizes that it's brainwashing, that there's a lot of it that just isn't quite what it was said to be, and that she genuinely knows that she brings a lot of harm. She wants to do what she can to help. She's always wanted that, and dang, that's crazy. With things as they were, they decided to leave her wounds untouched. Indeed, those wounds have been opened ever since she learned to judge things for herself. That's why Lucia assumes it's natural. She accepts the pain without thinking anything of it. Since birth, she'd been forced to shoulder pain that would cause any normal person to scream and cry. That's why she never even recognized it as pain.
天王寺君はルチアちゃんに親身な立場だから、今は義憤に駆られてると思う。気持ちは私も同じよ。
Oh, good.
同じガーディアンの同士に、幼い子供たちに犠牲を強いる悪魔が混じっていたなんて、想像するだけでも吐き気がするわ。
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because when you argue it's like literal life or death, when it's like one of the only hopes we might have, I can understand the madness that could come from that idea, the ideology and the fear, but it is horrific. And it's like, you'd hope that the people who were willing to go that far knew that they were essentially going to hell for what they were doing, because they certainly deserve it.
でも、その怒りを彼女にぶつけても、それは逆効果なの。だから、私にはいくら怒りをぶつけてくれても構わない。悪魔どもの片割れと、私を罵ってくれても構わない。
Akamo, she said. Is that devil? Akamo. It's Aku. I do think because there was a word I remember that like sounds similar to that. I'm guessing that's like devil, demon, something like that.
でも、彼 彼女のことを本当に心配しているなら、それを彼女の前で見せないで。
What? Are you telling me that'll only cause her more pain? But that...
カウンセリングの結果、彼女の根底には強い正義感と使命感。
They're her
そし
lifelines.
て、それに対する依存があることが分かった。
That also explains why she's such a stickler for rules and everything.
ルチアちゃんも無意識に苦しんでいるの。自分のしていることは正しいと誰かに認められ、そして誰かに常に使命を与えられていなければ。
This is kind of what I was worried about. It also makes sense why she threw herself at the relationship so intensely. Is because, like, her subconscious is screaming for validation and for a reason to live. She's desperate to believe that she's not just poison, that she has purpose, that people care, that people want her. And she can receive validation after validation after validation, but her conscious mind always finds a way to worm out of it and desperately clings to whatever she can get. So yeah, class president, she's being trusted, she's being relied upon. It gives her purpose, means that she has a place in the world. Does her homework. Goes to school every day. They are expectations that she delivers on with perfection because it means that she can do something good and bring something right to the table.
自分が気づかないふりをしている何かに気づいてしまうかもしれない恐怖にずっと怯えているの。
Her poisonous body can't return to normal anymore. She has to accept that, and that it's for the sake of humanity's future. If she doesn't firmly believe in that, then her heart will be crushed into pieces. No, I probably already knew that. There's already a deep crack in Lucia's heart. She's always afraid of her poison scarring someone. She's always afraid of her future alone, being the only one who can live in a world of 1,000 years in the future. Her entire life, she's been living in fear. To escape from that, she'd need a conviction and sense of purpose to believe that what she's doing is right.
サンタブロシアの一件後、セラピストは彼女に母親的な上司が存在するべきであると診断したわ。
Yeah, well, it didn't have to be superior, but it needed to be somebody who could understand her situation.
彼女の経緯を知る私が名乗り出たの。
Aw, that is very sweet of you. I got a very different impression of you in Chihaya's route, that's for sure. And so you ordered her to search for the key?
ルチアちゃん、結構話してるのね。天王寺君は本当に信頼されてる。
She's like, she shouldn't have told you that. The key is something dangerous entity that might possibly destroy the world, and you're doing a bunch of things to try and catch it. That's what she said, at least.
ええ。彼女に自分の存在意義を感じさせるには十分な使命よね。
Fair. So you've been manipulating Lucia like that all this time.
そうね。彼女がその痛みに耐えることができる日が来るまでね。
That brings an interesting question. Is there such a thing as good manipulation? I mean, you'd kind of argue that, like, for most parents and children, like, it's never perfect, but there's a lot of manipulation when it comes to growing up, that a lot of it's about learning and teaching and making sure that they stay safe. You know, little rituals like look both ways before you cross the street. Don't talk to strangers. You know, like, trust the police. Like, these are things that we teach them, but it kind of could be seen as brainwashing, manipulation. It's true, but it's good. Like, it's about providing a foundation and teaching behaviors that help protect them until they can make their own decisions. To help them fight and stay healthy until they can decide for themselves what they think is scary and safe and unsafe.
今日、ルチアちゃんとデートしたんだっけ？しずるちゃんに聞いたわ。
Yeah, it was awesome.
デートってとこは真っ赤になって茶化したりしないのね。
It was an honest to goodness date. Why would I deny it? What about it?
もう、その日は来てるのかもしれない。
I hope you're talking about her not feeling so much pain anymore and having a reason to live, rather than the day of like encapsulating us and sending us to the future.
ルチアちゃんは君に打ち明けることが許されないはずのことを少しずつ打ち明け始めてる。それはあなたになら、いいえ、あなたとなら 真実を受け入れることができると信じ始めたからかもしれない。
I mean, you gotta admit, like, somebody who can actually, like, process her poison without consequence is, like, the only person who might be able to.
もうルチアちゃんには地球を守る秘密結社なんて大義名分は必要ないんじゃないかしら。
Oh, do you mean she could actually leave Guardian? Then maybe the two of us could actually just go and, I don't know, live on an island and just exist. That'd be cool.
ガーディアンなどなくともあなたと一緒なら耐えていけると思い始めてるんじゃないかしら。
I swore to her that I would never let her be alone for as long as I live. And I don't mean that just to be there with her. I'm prepared to support her wounded heart for the rest of my life.
それルチアちゃんに
She's like, if you told her that, you better have meant it. Yeah, I did.
そう喜んだでしょうね。その誓い生涯本当に守れる。
My entire life, 1,000 years, whatever. I'll protect her forever. Miss Nishikyojo looks off to the distance and breathes a deep sigh. She smiles gently. Her smile is strangely reassuring. It's as if something that she's been bearing the burden of for so many years has finally been lifted from her shoulders. That's what her smile looks like to me anyway.
この一件が片付いたらルチアちゃんをガーディアンから除名するわ。地球の未来もガイアとの安闘ももはや何にも関係ない。
That's pretty cool. I hope her higher-ups will let her. I worry that Guardian's upper echelons might see Lucia as too much of an actual asset. Because, like, they could argue, like, well, think of what she could do to Guardian.
あなたと二人きりで生きていけるように手配してあげる。安心して。抑制剤の手配もちゃんとするから。
I'm not sure whether I should feel happy or overwhelmed.
これからはあなたがルチアちゃんを支えてあげて。それができるのはあなたしかいない。
Yes.
できるわよね。
Absolutely. Why do girls keep asking me to repeat my promises? I'm not going back on my word. Now where's Lucia?
設備を持った臨検の研究所に行ったわ。今回の一件が抑制剤の欠陥によるものか、彼女の体質の変化によるものか、それがわかるまで、当分はちょっとお家には帰れないかもしれないわ。
Right, well, now that I'm cleared, I'm gonna go visit her. How long will that take?
さあ、数週間になるか、
Fetch me.
数ヶ月になるか。明日にも聞いてみるわ。見通しが聞けたら、天王寺くんにも連絡するわ。
Can I meet with Lucia?
施設の都合上、面会は無理かもしれない。でも、携帯があるんでしょ？電話やメールは禁止されてないはずよ。
Can I call her now?
してあげて。きっと喜ぶわ。
I pull my phone out and call her. However, it just rings over and over. Lucia doesn't pick up.
検査中かもね。ならメールを送ってあげて。心細い彼女はきっと、君のメールに元気づけられるわ。
Gosh, she sounds like me. Sure, I'll try sending her a message later. Alright. Okay, think we're gonna end it here. A lot happened. Went longer than I expected, but it's okay. Fetch me. Okay, so poison buildup. Radiation does seem like it's miasma. It's anti-life, which is crazy to think of. That's gonna go anti-life. We got an anti-matter, anti-life. So like super radiation. Maybe we should just stick with that as the analogy. Built up and to the point where it overwhelms Sizuru, which is crazy. So, but we seem to process it, so it seems unlikely that it would be a problem for us. Now, maybe that'll change in the future, because that'd be quite a wrench to throw into a story, is that even our body can't keep up with it forever. I really hope that's not the case, but yeah, we'll have to see. But I really hope he just goes and visits her. He better. They might not let him, but he should try, dang it. Oh well. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit, just a smidge invested in the story. I can't think of why. It's very cute. I'm going to reserve my judgment on like how I feel about Lucia and her route until I get to the end of it. But it's been a very fun journey at the very least, and I've really thought today was a great episode. So thank you for sticking it out with me, and hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. Very intense like ending, and I was really getting nervous there, but it doesn't seem nearly as bad as I thought it might be. But the date itself was fantastic, and it's going to be a big hill to climb. And I'm not sure what to expect for the resolutions of these challenges, and if we're going to end up actually fighting Gaia. I imagine we will, but I wonder what that's going to look like. It'll be interesting. All right, well, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I certainly did, and I hope that you come back for more. And also check out all the other good stuff we're covering on the channel. Legend of Yoshi Trails in the Sky, Starfield, though that's probably not going to go too much longer. Got other visual novels. I've got such a backlog of Muv-Luv. If you like this, you've never read Muv-Luv, you should read Muv-Luv. It's probably going to be right up your alley. There's a lot of... I'm sure people would disagree, but I feel like there's enough narrative power and type of messaging that actually is fairly in common between the two. So a lot of it's about where you stand, why you fight, what brings meaning to life, and why is it worth fighting for each individual person. Very, very cool stories. Even the short stories are great. But yeah, and thank you to the patrons and members. You're all amazing. Thank you for believing in me enough to support me directly. I'm a small channel. I can't make any grandiose promises about it, but I do what I can, and I always make sure to take whatever I get from the channel and put it back into the channel, try and make every video better, trying to get better at my editing, trying to seek improvement in any way I can. So I really appreciate your support. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Thank you so much. And until next video, watch me or head to see me in next. I'll see you there.